Today we're going to be talking all about what's really going on with our hormones in our 40s. Why are we feeling like weight is creeping on around our middle? The wine is hitting differently. Energy is dipping quicker. And we're just feeling a little bit batshit crazy, I think, half the time in our 40s. And it's all thanks to our hormones. So we're going to talk about that today. Welcome back to the Nicola Graham Podcast. I'm going to start with my unfiltered, as I've been doing now for the last couple of weeks. Do you know what? I was thinking this week, I haven't really got anything. I haven't really got a talking point to speak on. And then I remembered back, which honestly, this is also like me being very hormonal. Bit nostalgic. Does anyone remember Sex and the City? And now they've brought out the new, what's it called? Just Like That, I think it is, on Sky Atlantic. Is anyone else watching it? And I was in tears watching it the other night, ladies. Probably because I was hormonal, but I feel like I've grown up with the characters. Does anyone else feel like this? So like when Sex and the City was doing the rounds, it was about like fashion and men and like it was that stage of life. I was also at that stage of life. And now the more recent episodes, the characters have grown up and it's about like losing parents and like one of the characters, Charlotte's character, is like going through an illness at the moment, and it's like navigating having kids and just like they've just grown and they just evolved. And I was like sobbing watching an episode because I was like, oh my gosh, it's so relatable. It's wild. So that's what I'm watching at the moment. Secretly when my hubby goes to bed. When we are awake, we're watching. When he's awake, we're currently watching Waterfront. Has anyone else seen that? We've just finished This Is Wrexham on Disney. That's a football one, but it's brilliant. Is it Ryan Reynolds? Ryan Reynolds and this other guy. Anyway, they've bought a football club, but it's just more about how they've grown the community. Like, I want to be a Wrexham supporter after watching it. Anyway, what's everyone else watching this week? Let me know. But if you're not watching Waterfront, Netflix, really good. And yeah, the relation to Just Like That and what I'm going to talk about today, just that whole, like, we are evolving. And I want to talk about the hormones, ladies, because I refuse to show up like everything is all ducks in a row. When really behind the scenes, I am like, what the hell is going on? And honestly, I was thinking about this the other day because I was thinking, okay, I'm going to put out information, obviously to my clients, through social media platforms, wherever I can, to help us women sort of like navigate this era, because it's a whole new era. I was in the gym the other day and I was talking to my friend who I train with, and I was like, it's like having to like learn to understand your body all over again from scratch. And I honestly don't think that you can deliver. So I can put out information on like how to navigate our 40s, what foods to eat, the best way to train, and we'll talk about all of that now. But I also feel like you've got to be in it, and like all of us has to experience it before we realise, oh, it's time to change things up, if that makes sense. Like, and I've listened to podcasts on stuff like this for years and done the research and whatever else it is. But until you physically start to go through it yourself and realise, oh, okay, what I was doing 5 years ago, what I was doing 10 years ago is no longer working anymore. I need to actually start putting all of that information into practice. I need to start changing things up for myself. It's like we need to go through it. And so I'm not going to disguise the fact that I feel as though on some level, well, I know I am. And because I'm going to talk about this now, the way we can feel the change in our hormones. So the way I want you to think about it, so we've got estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. I'm not going to deep dive too much on the science stuff, but I do want to give you a bit of context. Just being asked earlier, what I feel is probably like the biggest part of transformation that the women that I work with get. And I said, it's peace of mind. It's just peace of mind. The women that I work with, we finish working together and they have got peace of mind. They've got clarity. They understand what works. They understand what doesn't work. They know how to create boundaries. And again, this is like us talking about this today. ladies, is it's just to create more peace of mind, because there are times, especially when our hormones are wreaking havoc, that actually what is healthy for us is to give ourselves a little bit of grace. But we need to understand what's going on. We've got to understand what's going on, because if we don't, well, I don't know about anyone else, but I find myself just trying to fight against it, instead of, okay, I'm just going to take a back seat because I understand where I'm at in my cycle, where I'm at in life, and it's just going to feel different to what it did 10 years ago, and that's okay. But I need to be now willing to do things differently to take better care of myself. So I want you to think about it like, when we talk about the shift in hormones, it's kind of like estrogen is playing up like a toddler, having full-on tantrums, okay? It's coming, it's going, it's just erratic. Progesterone is slowly like packing its bags in the background, getting ready to leave, walk out on us, which is the calming hormone, okay? So this is why we feel things start to elevate a little bit more, because that's slowly packing its bags in the background. And then we've got testosterone, which we know is like predominantly the male hormone, but we still need it as well, ladies. And that is just like slowly fading. I'm going to talk about like, okay, there's definitely ways that we can help preserve and take care of this little lineup of hormones, but it's just important to understand what is going on. So what actually changes in our 40s? Hormonal shifts, we know that. Metabolism starts to slow down slightly. I've spoken about this in previous episodes, like just naturally as we age, everything starts to slow. It's so mad that I've written like a possible title for this, like what is changing in midlife. Sorry, there's a fly in this room. It's buzzing me because it keeps going right past my face. It's so mad to write down midlife and be like, I am 42. If I live till I want to live till I'm 100. Okay, but this is midlife. This is wild. At 42, like I don't know about anyone else, like we feel like we're still in our prime. We still feel like we're in our early 30s, but this is it. Ladies, this is what midlife feels like. And when we were younger, didn't midlife feel like it was grey hair and like grannies? And now you actually like define what midlife is, the middle of your life, and you're like, oh, okay, it's this. I was hosting a retreat at some point last year, and one of the women there was telling me she was going through a midlife. And that's why she came to the retreat today, because you know what, I'm going through that like midlife crisis that I've always heard about, and now I think I'm going through it. And like we got to the bottom of it and we were like, oh, okay, maybe we think you're in perimenopause, you're in like your hormones are just changing and wreaking havoc, and this is what's always been associated with maybe like having a midlife. I don't know what the version of it is for men. I think men go out and, I don't know, act a bit more frivolously with cash or whatever it is, I don't know. But for us women, we feel as though our personality has just completely changed. Like we've been hijacked and this new persona has taken over. And I think our partners probably also feel that as well. But it's this is what we're going to talk about. It's the hormonal changes. It's not a crisis. It's a natural part of evolving as a woman. But we have to learn to understand what is going on and how to take care of ourselves, maybe better or differently or with more empathy, or just from a different place with a different approach. Stress loads increases on the body also in our 40s, as we know, and sleep disruptions, which is driven by a lot of this. But the sleep, it's so underrated for fat loss and for mental clarity. Like some of the things that I know I struggle with is like the mental clarity and focus and self-talk when I'm feeling hormonal. And but the sleep disruptions also go hand in hand with that, and it's not the same. It's just not the same as when we were sleep deprived because we had newborns. It's a different season in life. You know, sometimes I'll speak with clients, or I'll even like think myself, God, how did I manage though when I was getting through? Like, you know, I was just lucky if I was getting like 2 consecutive hours a night when the babies were born. And it's just a different season of life completely. Okay, let's talk about each of the hormones individually. Stay with me if you not really so interested in this as of yet, because you're thinking, I'm not going through this, Nick, this is not where I'm at in life. It's still important to understand, I would argue, for us women. And you know what? We still feel these fluctuations during a menstrual cycle. It just becomes more heightened. And actually, I'm talking about in our 40s, but I was having a conversation with a mum the other day, who I'm friendly with, and she started going through perimenopause at 36. I think the statistical age is around 38. So it can happen anytime for any of us, essentially. But it's just when you start to feel things change, this is when we need to just go, okay, this could be what's happening, this is what I'm going to do differently. So estrogen, as we know, is like the master female hormone. And as I've just said, in our 40s, it starts to become a little bit erratic. It starts to get a little bit irritable. You know, it's all over the place. We lose that sort of like nice, regular flow. One of the roles, which I think this is the one that we freak out about, okay, we start gaining weight around our middle. I know I'm starting to feel this, ladies. Honestly, like, again, I was having this conversation in the gym the other day, and I was like, this has just never been an area for me that I've struggled with. I've always had big legs and a big bum. Like, that's just where I store body fat. But I'm now starting to feel it around my middle. But estrogen plays a part in this because it helps to regulate fat distribution. So predominantly, it helps the body to store fat in bum, hips, legs, and that sort of like to support reproduction. But when we start to deplete, or when we start to feel this great dip in estrogen, that's where just by default the body just starts to store fat. I'll just stick it around the stomach area. So we start to feel that. That can be one of the first symptoms of sort of like hormonal changes, is just we're feeling it here. And I've spoken about this on a previous episode as well, also linked to stress. But this is really all sort of, you know, it all comes back full circle. But it's not just for like the reproductive side of things. It is also muscle preservation, it's bone health, it's insulin sensitivity. So insulin sensitivity, and again, a bit of a buzzword at the moment, I think. I always say this, we curate our own reality, our own environment, our own social media feeds, whatever it is. It's a buzzword in my world, it might not be in yours, but insulin sensitivity is essentially how stable our blood sugars are, okay? Peaks and troughs in blood sugar can lead to peaks and troughs in energy, and it can also lead to cravings, okay? And us chasing that sort of like sugar high. So estrogen is responsible for supporting that insulin sensitivity when that drops off. So again, even if you're not in your 40s, but you just notice around menstrual cycle, cravings are up. That's another reason why this pesky fly, if you're watching this on YouTube and you see me like swatting something out the way, it's the fly. If you're on Apple or Spotify, you're not going to have a clue what I'm talking about. It also supports serotonin production. Ladies, it helps support serotonin production, okay? The healthy, happy hormone, which is produced in the gut, it supports, it helps to regulate our mood and our brain function, okay? That cognitive, like mental clarity of a morning. Is anyone else feeling like this is just more of a battle to keep on side than it used to feel like? Again, I will be the first advocate for hijacking that morning train of thought. Whether it is like reading over your goals, journaling, listening to some affirmations, listening to something that makes you laugh, just anything that hijacks like the automated train of thought, because our hormones are wreaking havoc, we can't always trust that our train of thought is in our best interest, has got our back. Whereas if we are reading through our goals, if we are journaling, we're getting the thoughts out of our head onto paper, if we are listening to something that is going to positively affirm back to us the things that we need to hear, that gets us on that front foot. Verbal fluency as well. I've written that down and I've underlined it, because honestly, and I know I'm not alone on this one, but I'm just going to put it out there. The memory first of all, like we all talk about this. Any of the friends that I've got were like, oh my gosh, the memory of like, we went for dinner recently, and one of my friends, and she's with the same age, and she was like, I was driving the other day and I genuinely forgot where I was going on a route that I take multiple times a week. And I was like, that is, first of all, really scary. Also, I definitely believe that like we've got 1,000,001 tabs open in our brain all at once at all times. During menstrual cycle, ladies, whether you're in your 40s or you're not, try to close down some of those tabs when it's menstrual cycle time, because we just cannot. We can't, you know, the way we can multitask a million things at once as women. I'm not speaking for the whole population, men, we know we can't do this. But as women, we can. But during our menstrual cycle, we just can't, okay? And again, it's just due to these hormone fluctuations. But in our 40s, like, the memory and like just the verbal, just being able to get our words out, the amount of times I just say the complete wrong word to the kids. I'm trying to think of an example. I'll be like, put the toilet roll back in the fridge. Kids will look at me like, huh? I'm like, sorry, the milk. Put the milk back in the fridge. I'm thinking I need to add toilet roll to the shopping list, and the word just like comes out of my mouth, and I scare myself doing that. My grandma, I want to say she died of dementia. We lost my grandma in that phase of life. Do not cry, Nick. It triggers me so much. Again, a massive reason why I'm so invested in us taking the best care of ourselves possible, and just really taking any power away from those scales or what we think we should look like or the dress size that we should be in. Like, this is also much more important, because I lost a grandparent to dementia. And so when we talk about the brain health, and we talk about the hormones, and we talk about how to support that, and we talk about reducing inflammation, like, it's important. And I've actually seen firsthand the impact on our entire family. So yeah, it actually scares me when I just say the complete wrong word to the kids. But I've got to say, it's just also part of what's going on. So it's awareness, okay? And when it dips and when it swings, this estrogen hormone, we can feel it. We can feel it on our waistline, in our mood, in our energy. Progesterone it's that calming hormone, okay? This is what helps us get into that calmer sleep. It's what helps to reduce stress, reduce anxiety. It's what helps regulate our menstrual cycle, helps to reduce inflammation. So again, we feel that. We feel when we are depleted, or when that is sort of like slowly starting to decline, because our sleep is disturbed. Like, that's again a really common one. So weight around the waistline, disturbed sleep, really common symptoms of just, okay, my hormones have now taken on a whole new identity. But if you're feeling like more anxious, if you're feeling sort of like wired but tired, it could be sort of like, okay, my progesterone hormone it's packing its bags. It's, you know, it's lower than it was before. And then testosterone is the power hormone. So predominantly male testosterone, female estrogen, but we've all got a bit of both, okay? We have obviously a much lower amount of testosterone. It's the muscle building hormone, ladies. So if you're looking at your partner and you're thinking, it's not fair, he goes to gym like 2-3 times and he looks like he's starting to take shape, I need to be doing like 6 solid months before I see any definition. They've just got an abundance of this testosterone hormone, and it's the muscle building hormone. So yes, our male partners will find it easier to build muscle than we do. If you've never known that, there's your aha moments of this podcast. But we also need this testosterone hormone, ladies. And again, it starts to slowly decline, but it's really important. It's important for our strength. It's important for muscle preservation, muscle mass, building muscle. We can absolutely build muscle into and beyond our 40s. Of course we can. It takes a little bit of a different approach. It's maybe not as quick to happen overnight as it was in our early 20s, early 30s. This is like one of those things, isn't it, that you look back and you think to yourself, God, I wish I'd have known this. I wish I'd have known it earlier, so I could have I could have like started laying the foundation so when we get into our 40s and it is naturally harder, I'm already sort of like ahead of the curve. But again, if you're not at this stage of life that I'm talking about and you're listening to this, stay tuned, because just understanding what's ahead, and it is ahead for all of us, like the female body is going to go through this change and this evolution, different stages for all of us. But it's just, I think it's really interesting and important to understand. I'm just going to take a little drink. Okay, so the testosterone is responsible for our drive, our motivation, our confidence, strength, power, libido, or sex drive, ladies. It also supports our fat burning capacity. So again, we might not feel this hormone start to decline, but again, we can relate it to, oh, weight is creeping on around my middle. But the right training can definitely support this. I've got to say, if you are not already strength training, you will hear me yap on about this. But if you're not already strength training, and like, just to make strength training simple, it's just picking up a weight. And I'm not talking about the 2 kg dumbbells. I'm talking about a weight that feels challenging. You know, something that is going to stimulate your muscle. I always like to think, if you're doing 10 reps, you get to rep 7, 8, and you feel like, oh, I need to drop this weight. But you can technically keep going to the 10 because you just need to kick in with your mindset. That's about where we should be. If you're picking up 2 kg and you could fly for 20 reps, it's not strength training. It's adding a little bit of resistance, but ultimately we want to cause the muscle to have to adapt from our workout. This helps with the production of testosterone in our body, essentially. So together these hormones, estrogen, progesterone, the testosterone, these help to regulate. They regulate the stress, the anxiety, how well we recover, where we store fat in our body, our mood, our energy, our appetite, our cravings. So maybe previous to now, you've always been able to just identify, okay, I'm on my menstrual cycle, so 4 days of the month, I'm going to feel maybe a little depleted, a little more hungry, a little bit more tired, maybe a bit more emotional, but that's it. The whole rest of the month, I'm pretty safe, like I'm pretty level playing field. We get sort of like 38 plus, and it starts to feel a bit more wavy. You know, that 4 days is expanding out to sort of like 5 to 7 days. Then it's like, you know what, our hormones, our periods can become a little bit dysregulated, and eventually it just feels a little all over. So when we think about, okay, but okay, that all makes sense, Nick, but how are we best supporting this? This is where we have to acknowledge what we have to do differently, and we have to relearn how to better take care of ourselves. And I think one of the big things is understanding our reason why. And I know I talk about this a lot, but you know, when we are in our 20s and 30s, the reason why can be because we want to fit into a certain dress, and you know, we want to be able to look good for the weekend. But as we age, it's got to be about, okay, but I actually really value my sleep now. I value my energy. I value my good mood. I don't want to feel so erratic when it comes to cravings. And understanding our reason why, I think, can really drive those decisions around, okay, what needs to change. And it's the simple stuff. It's the simple stuff, but I feel like it's simple on paper, harder to do in practice. It's reducing alcohol, because guess what? We just cannot tolerate it the way that we could. I am not anti-alcohol, by the way, at all. I don't drink very much because I personally, I just can't tolerate it. I just know my body. I just can't. I'm too, like, one of my big values is being able to train, like work out, recover well, and have like a certain level of energy, and it just that it just takes that away from me. It's too hard for me to recover. But if you know that about yourself also, it's time for us to go, okay, yeah, I used to be able to go on a night out in my 30s and bounce back the next day. But if you know now that you can't do that, then we've got to look at, okay, how do I make life easy for myself? Because I can't, in my mind, want to be able to navigate this stage of life with more ease, but then still hit the bottle of wine every Friday night. Like, the two things are just not going to marry up. We cannot tolerate alcohol in our 40s the way that we could previously. We also really need to get clear on what like good sleep hygiene looks and feels like. It's normally just related to scrolling late of a night. It's the habit for us all, isn't it? But if you know that you are more hormonal, and you know that like, okay, actually I'm starting to feel some of these things that Nick's talking about here, like, and this is before we talk about what you're going to do differently in the gym or the foods that you're going to eat differently. This is like, right, okay, but how do we get that rest? Because that rest and that restoration overnight supports the regulation of the hormones, okay? Making sure we get our fresh air, making sure that we walk and get our fresh air on a daily basis. Not because we want to burn calories, that also really matters because we're talking about keeping our waistline under control, but that's another easy way to help to regulate our hormones. When it does come to the diet, though, ladies, I will say, focusing on the higher protein rich, not the protein junk options, not the protein yogurt and the protein bar and everything else, but the protein, the likes of your chicken, your beef, your tuna, your prawns, your low-fat cottage cheese, your Greek yogurt, the real whole food, like getting that in, like at each sitting, making sure that we base our meals on protein. Yes, it's a bit of a fad and it's a bit of a buzz at the moment, a bit of a buzzword, but I think it's just because it's being brought into the mainstream because it's important and we need to know about it. It's the same as fibre. Fibre at the moment seems to be, you know, more of a hot topic. So some of the coaches and stuff that I follow now on socials, they've moved away from buzzing on about protein because everyone's kind of over that, or they've cottoned onto that. Now they're talking about the importance of fibre. So that's always really been our 5 a day. And just making sure that we get in enough fruit and vegetables. But when we talk about this in relation to our hormones, it really supports our gut health. Getting that good amount of fibre in a day, around 25 grams. And again, you just want to be thinking about fruits with skin on, dark leafy greens, avocados are great. But when we talk about getting our fibre in, what we are thinking about is helping support our gut health and actually helping our gut better absorb the protein and all of the other nutrients that we're trying to prioritise, but we want our body to be in a good position to be able to absorb all of this good food. Strength training, I've sort of like fast-tracked here, ladies, onto, okay, now I know what's going on with the hormones. Now, how do I better manage life day to day? So you're going to take that different approach when it comes to your diet if you're not already doing it. You're going to prioritise your walking, okay? Yes, because it's going to burn calories, which is going to help with that declining metabolism. Okay, we want to keep that nice and high because that's the rate at which we burn body fat. We're also going to switch the approach of our training if you're not doing it already, because I think it was maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago I spoke about the importance of like this high volume, maxed out, you know, smash every workout doesn't really add up with this stage of life. It's good for every couple of sessions, but we want to manage stress and we want to make sure that we are giving our body the opportunity to build and maintain lean muscle mass. So strength training, recovering, prioritising your recovery, super important. The amount of clients that I speak to, and we have to physically make it a goal to rest, recover, prioritise some white space, do something that just brings you joy, which I know might sound cheesy and like it doesn't even relate to Nick. My goal is to get in great health. That is part of health. Like, don't underestimate the importance of doing the things that make you happy just for the sake of doing things that make you happy, instead of waiting for like the holiday or that, you know, one big occasion of a year, like on a weekly basis. And you would be so surprised the amount of women that I work with who that in, you know, high level, high stress jobs, they need that downtime of a weekend. They find it hard to switch off. We create the downtime. I hold them accountable to creating the downtime, and it just helps better support everything. Mood, which then knocks on to, I actually want to get my workout, which then knocks on to, I actually want to prioritise better nutrition, reduce my alcohol. It's a whole ecosystem, ladies. The sleep, the training, the nutrition, the mindset, it's an ecosystem. We need to be looking at it all. The mindset, when it comes to the mindset, it's shifting from that short-term approach. The short-term quick fixes, I will say that they did work in our younger years. We know that. They worked momentarily. But we've got to be willing to switch that approach now to, okay, I need to think long-term, lifestyle, sustainable. I could do this as a way of living, because the more quick fixes that we jump from, the harder each one will start to feel. And that's just a quick fire way to knock our self-confidence and our self-esteem and our self-talk. And like, listen, if we're in our 40s, we don't want to have to be battling with that. We can make this our best decade. If you have not already found your groove and you are not already living your best life, this could absolutely be the starting point. Of course it could. This podcast is not doom and gloom. This is not everything's going to change. This is okay. We're changing. We need to understand that. How do we maximise this and make this our best decade yet? Because guess what? I'm over caring what the Joneses think. I'm over having to look a certain way. I'm over the scale completely determining my mood for the day. And I'm just going to get in the driver's seat here, and I am going to have a lifestyle approach that allows me to have flexibility but keeps me in great health, and I understand what I'm doing and how to navigate that. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up with a couple of takeaways on how we are going to make this our best decade yet. Build some muscle. If we are going to make this our best decade yet, you're not already lifting weights, let's get to that. Let's build some muscle, ladies. Muscle is what gives us the tone, the shape, the strength, the confidence. Helps with the metabolism, which is going to help with the fat burning, which, you know what, let's be honest, like when it comes to confidence and energy, yeah, we do want to be concerned with keeping that body fat at a healthy percentage. We want to create sustainable habits. If it feels like it's so far removed from what is doable on a day-to-day, it's not a sustainable habit. It has to be something. And like, go back to, I think maybe episode 5. There's a downloadable in there, how to navigate summer, but as part of that, I've given you some non-negotiables. Okay, when we think about sustainable habits, it's having our non-negotiables, and you start with a core couple, and then you build out from there, and before you know it, your non-negotiables become a part of, like, they're your daily habits, they become a part of who you are, they're your identity. This is what forms the lifestyle. And yeah, it's just redefining what success feels like in our 40s. Like, what does success actually feel like for us now at this age? Is it the dress size? Is it the number on the scale? Or is it how we feel? Is it how we can show up with our kids? Is it, is it the way we carry ourselves? Is it up here? Is it the mindset? Like, redefine and be willing to do things differently to what you've ever done before, instead of trying to fit back into that 30-year-old version of yourself. I'm sure she was absolutely fabulous, but you have outgrown her now, and that is not a bad thing. That was a season in our life, ladies, and this is a new season that we are stepping into, and we've just got to be willing to roll with that and like take on some of the changes. So yeah, our 40s can absolutely be a launch pad, but we need to be willing to take those steps. So I am going to challenge you, if you are not already lifting weights or following a strength training program, or you don't have a clue where to start, drop me a message. I sincerely mean this when I say my DMs are open. Drop me a message and I will give you some direction. But if you're not already lifting weights, let's make that a priority. And I would say the second challenge is to just observe the amount of junk foods that you may or may not be consuming on a daily basis that will definitely be impacting cravings, mood, energy, and all the rest of it. If you want more info on whole foods, how to approach the diet, anything and everything, ladies, please subscribe, like this podcast, head to my Instagram page, and yeah, I'll catch you all in the next episode.